Welcome to the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's DIF, the online event series that aims to shift mindsets and inspire action towards a circular economy. My name is Laura Franco, and I will be the host in this session. In the next 30 to 45 minutes, we will explore Repair, the innermost loop of the circular economy, with 4 people working across different levels in the economy who believe that Repair offers a better solution to keep our products and materials in use. I am delighted to have here with me 4 people. Susana from Repairable, an organization that gives certificates to products that are easy and affordable to repair. Blanca from Restarters Barcelona, where they run regular restart parties, which are public events in which people teach each other how to fix their broken devices. Chloe from Restart Project, who is also coordinating the Right to Repair European campaign. And Matthew from Reuse, the network of European social enterprises active in reuse, repair, and recycling. I would like to take a moment to also remind you at home that this is an interactive session. So please put your comments and questions on Twitter using the hashtag ThinkDiff or on our website in the comments box on the session page you are watching the recording of this video on. So let's start with you, Susana. Could you, first of all, tell us a little bit about what you mean by Repair Revolution, which is also the title of this session?
Yes. Hello to everyone. So revolution is a word to say no, to something which is going on in the society. It's a strong disagreement with something that we don't want to continue happening. And in our case, the Repair Revolution says that we say no to throwing away economy and to buying always new products when just maybe a small piece of our products that we already have breaks.
Thank you, Susana. Just a question to start with, I think it would be good if you could all tell our audience a little bit about what your organizations are all about and what is your role in this Repair Revolution. Maybe Susana, we can start with you, and then Matthew, maybe you can jump to the conversation and explain it.
Yes. Well, so our organization Repairable, it's a platform for repairable products. We certify those products that have been designed, but are also produced and sold in a way that makes them repairable. That means not only disassemblable, but also that the components, tools, or repair guides are available, because we think it's very important for the user to be able to determine which of the products on the market are repairable and which not.
Thank you, Susana. Matthew, could you tell us a little bit more?
Yes. So I'm at Turama. I work for Reuse, which is a network of social enterprises active in reuse, repair, and recycling. So basically, our members can be charity organizations, reuse operators who do conduct repair activities on waste, on waste products, also on donations. Some of them are also conducting repair cafes. And some are even starting to conduct direct repair activities, meaning for consumers who directly want their own products to be repaired. So not only with donations and waste items. So we are a network of 29 members spread around across 24 EU countries.
Thank you, Matthew. I would like to welcome now Chloe. Could you tell us a little bit more about your organization?
Sure. So my name is Chloe. I work as a campaigner on behalf of the Right to Repair European campaign, which is a very recent campaign. We launched a little less than 2 months ago. We're a coalition of organizations based in Europe who are active around the cause of repair. We unite both people who are doing repair on the ground, so professional repairers and community repair initiatives, normal citizens and consumers who are frustrated when their products become obsolete too early, but also people who are interested in environmental sustainability. And what we want with this campaign is to make repair and the right to repair as mainstream and inclusive as possible, and bring urgency to policymakers, so both at the EU and at member states level, about the need for longer lasting and more repairable products.
Thank you, Chloe, for this introduction. And then finally, Blanca, could you tell us a little bit more about Restarters Barcelona and what you do?
Yes, hello everyone. Restartes Barcelona, we are an association that was set up in 2015 following and inspired by the Restart project, so the project where Chloe is working. And we are organizing Restart parties, which are the public events, free events where volunteer repairs help people to fix their own devices. And now we have a project that is called Barcelona Sendoya, which is a community project which the aim is to set up different community of repairs in the different districts of the city.
Thank you, Blanca. So maybe we can actually start with you, and I would like to ask you the first question, which is, do you see that people are still interested in knowing how to repair? As you know, our parents and our grandparents, and it's still the case in many countries where they don't have the option to just buy new products all the time, or actually the case of a lot of people. So are we still interested in learning how to repair our products?
Yeah, I would say that maybe not the majority of the people are interested in repair, but it's growing more and more. And maybe also facilitated by the recession economy in the last years. But I think that there are more interest in not only on saving money, but also in approaching a bit more and be a bit closer to our own devices and learn how to things operate, and yeah, curiosity also move the people. Yeah.
Have you seen if there is a particular sector of the population who is interested in learning how to repair?
Yeah, I would say that for now, the most of the people that come to the Restart parties maybe are people who are already sensitive to this kind of topics, or have certain ecological habits and ways of life. But more and more, I think that different people, elder people, young people, like to come to the Restart parties, also as a social event and something new, just to explore what happens there.
Okay, thank you, Blanca. And I think that my next question is more directed towards what are the current barriers to repair, and what is keeping us from repairing our products. And maybe this is something that you and Susana can discuss for a bit. I don't know who would like to go first. Susana, maybe you can reply to this question first.
Yes. Well, so I think we have like two different points of view. One is really what's going on the repair parties, and what can actually the people do themselves, which I think Blanca will perfectly be able to define from that regard. And this is about repairing any kind of product. What we are trying to do is like to change the design and how the products are sold in order to make them repairable. So I would maybe more focus on this part, because one thing is if the product actually can be disassembled into pieces, which depends on the design of the product. And many times nowadays, the products are designed in a way that they cannot be disassembled, either because it's a design issue, because, for example, they have to be waterproof, or there is any other reason, or just because it's the simpler and cheaper way of how to produce the products, and the repair is not taken into account as a quality that should be there, which also makes the products last less. And this is something that our society does not seen today as something negative, but we should see it negative because of the waste creation, right? And so then a part of this, or maybe related with this issue, there is the way of components, tools, and software availability, because what makes us not to repair a product is, for example, well, you find what's wrong, and then you want to, for example, get a component, but either the component is too expensive or it takes too long until you can get it, so you can't wait so long, for example, with your washing machine to repair it. So you just say, okay, I don't have any choice, or it's not comfortable, not simple enough to make the repair at home. And similar thing is with tools, or if there is a software, or even repair guides, which would help you to do it at home. But many people think that the repair is actually too complicated for them, and they would not be even able to do that. but this could be maybe only an issue of information and, well, missing information.
Thank you, Susanna. Would you like Blanca to add anything to that?
Yeah, in our case, we are just focused on electric and electronic devices, so it's a bit more specific. So I would say that maybe from the human side of the problem, let's say, I would say that the lack of time for people to come and repair, so it makes to prefer to just throw away and buy another one, and also is facilitated by the low prices of the technology. And also sometimes, as Susanna mentioned, maybe people think that they don't know how to make things, but in fact, it's not a problem, because what we propose is that just to make it with others. You don't need to know how the things work or how things can be fixed, but maybe others can do it with you. And on the other side, on the technical side, well, there are many obstacles and difficulties, like the limited warranties of the products, the incompatibility of the software and hardware, as Susanna said, but also the difficulty of the access, in the access to the repair manuals, the lack of the spare pieces, or the non-standard formats, for example, in the case of the screw. So you need special screwdrivers to open the devices. Also, the bad quality of certain materials, which is something that maybe we don't realize, but when we have to buy a device or whatever, we have forgotten to recognize. We have lost the capacity to recognize a good material, for example. Or also the lack of modular devices. In the case that, for example, we would like to change just a part, but not throwing away the whole device. So I would say that it's the mixture of all these factors, conditions that make it difficult to repair.
Thank you. And so what I think Susanna mentioned a little bit like waste creation, but what are the consequences of, this misuse of all these products and materials that we put into products and then, we just throw them away? Maybe Susanna, you would like to answer this question first.
Yes. Well, it happens so often, no? That there is just like something very small that breaks, and then the whole machine, the whole thing that we have goes to the waste. Which I would also mention that, okay, this is an important environmental problem, which is why I think all of us do this work. But also it's complicated for the consumer to always like look for a new machine, to make also again like the market surge and so on. So this is also an important thing. I mean, I think it's important to say, because there is people who is more environmentally sensitive, but they already know this. Like they already know that it makes sense to keep the products for longer. But also for all the other consumers, it's their own value that they buy. And it makes much more sense if the product keeps longer. And then the impact from the environmental perspective, it's the waste which is created, as we said also in the introduction of this session. So yearly we produce as much waste as would be the volume of 4,500 Eiffel Towers. So if you just imagine that, and this is only e-waste. And then we have to think also, okay, this is the waste, but also we need another new resources, many times scarce resources, to make new products to replace the old ones. So it's like a double, we are missing it double, right?
Absolutely. Would anybody else would like to talk a little bit more about the consequences of this? No? Okay. Again, Blanca, or?
No, I would just add that we also lose the capacity of dealing with problems and dealing with technology. So we are more and more distant from our own devices. So in some sense, we are a bit more silly, or more without knowledge, and more incompetent somehow.
Thank you. Sorry, Chloe.
Yeah, no, and I guess it's also in terms of costs, it doesn't make sense to buy new products regularly. It's a problem of cost as well for the consumer's wallet. It's not just environmental sustainability; it's also about the right to own a product up until the end and be able to decide what we want to do with it. Do we want to repair it? And if we do, can we repair it? Do we really have the ability to? Is it possible? So we need to be able to choose what we want to do with our product. And we also need to be able not to spend extra money regularly when, as Susanna and Blanca mentioned, when a tiny pieces break, it shouldn't be the norm to spend another extra amount of money just to be able to replace it.
Thank you, Chloe. And I think that, well, we are here in this session today to kind of understand and start the conversation about what is it that we can do, or how can we go about convincing businesses to produce repairable products. So that's actually what I would like to discuss next. What is it that producers, maybe let's start with the business's point of view, and what is it that producers or designers can do to actually make our products more repairable. Susanna, maybe I think you are the best person to ask that question too.
Yes, thank you. Well, I think the producers, producers and the designers are the ones who actually have the power to change this, because they are the ones who decide how they sell their products and how they make their own business plans in this changing economy. So if we take into account that the circular economy nowadays is not something vague, that you would not know how it works and what are the consequences of the current economy. So I think more and more businesses now are changing their way of making the products also, and they focus more on service. They focus more on something which is not so much material intensive, but they are looking for alternatives, how to, let's say, replace their profits which they make normally by selling always new products. So I think it's very important that the producers are aware of all the risks which are also coming because the materials are becoming scarce. It makes them more expensive, and it does not make sense also for the future for them to continue with this kind of production. No, like, okay, mass production is perfect because it can save a lot of resources, economical, but also work and so on. But we need to put there some limits, and I think the limits are somehow defined by the nature and the environment. So it's up to the producers how they stand to it, and the solutions that they can find creatively in order to a bit transform the way how they deal with the production and the selling of their products.
And Susanna, what are the benefits that producers and designers get from making their products more repairable, and also from getting, let's say, the certificate that Repairable gives them? And what are the benefits? Because I guess that somehow people ask the question of what is the economic benefit of making my products repairable, which I'm sure you can explain us a bit more.
Yes, I think it happens as with any third-party certification. So if there is someone else from outside who confirms a quality of the product, which in this sense is repairability, so I think there is always a consumer that is wanting to select this product because he knows in a certified way that this is a product that will last longer. So it's a higher value for him. So for the consumer, it's the value not only in the sense that it lasts longer, but also if you want to change the product, okay, you can decide so, and then sell it on the secondhand market with a good price as well, because you know that you are selling something, and the person on the other side is also knowing that it's buying something which will last and which you can repair all the time. So I think the producers finally, they benefit from the benefits of the consumers they are giving to, because the consumers become more and more aware of these benefits.
Thank you, Susanna. And I actually see one question coming from the audience, which is really related to a point that I would like to make, that is the businesses cannot do this alone. So we are going to also talk about, what is the role that governments and policymakers can do, and also the role of citizens and consumers in this. So Heather Rogers is asking, in our view, and in your view, who is the single most important stakeholder to have at the table when trying to transform to a repair-enabled economy? So we could start with Matthew, who can tell us a bit more about what's the point of view of what is the role of legislation and policymakers in this transition to a repair economy.
Well, as a policy officer in Brussels and representing independent repairers, what I can say is currently the trend is to go towards more repairable products. It's taking time. It's not enough yet, but currently we see that the Commission is seriously working on eco-design and has already developed and made validated some eco-design requirements for electronic products. So it will include fridges, washing machines, dishwashers, displays, and maybe soon also vacuum cleaners, tumble dryers, and maybe also these eco-design requirements will be applied to other types of products, such as textiles, for example. And it's a very important shift, because in the past, eco-design was only seen as a mere energy efficiency tool. So eco-design was just used to make products more energy efficient. And it was a good start, but then it was also quite frustrating, because then it resulted in some wording used by producers, or maybe even sometimes by environmental NGOs, saying that it made sense to replace your products which were still perfectly working with new ones because of energy efficiency. But then when you look at the whole picture, you realize that the energy consumption and the resource consumption in general, so not only electricity, but also water, rare earth compounds, all of that is used during the manufacturing. And for a lot of products, it's actually the manufacturing phase which has the highest resource consumption compared to the use phase. So it's very important that eco-design measures are now will now be applied. So the types of products I mentioned before. So this resource efficiency requirement will be more or can be identified as repair requirements, because it will be about having access to spare parts, having access to repair information, and also making sure that spare parts are delivered within a certain time frame. So it will have to be delivered within 3 weeks maximum. Also to make sure that certain parts are accessible and that you can also take them apart from the product without destroying the product. The thing is that for now, you have 2 lists. One of spare parts which will be accessible by professional repairers, and another one which will be accessible by consumers. And because of probably a lobbying made by the producers, we end up with a list for which is very limited concerning access for direct consumers. So Chloe, a little bit later, will be able to talk more about the right to repair campaign that we also take part in to tackle this issue. But beyond what concerns eco-design, so it's very important to create products which are repairable, but it is also important that legislation helps the repair sector through other tools, financial tools particularly, because even if you create repairable products, if they are still more expensive, if it's still more expensive to repair your product than to replace it with a new one, it will be complicated to have people actually buying repairable products. So I have in mind, for example, like a way that France is currently transposing the Waste Framework Directive is to make use of the EPR fee. So without going too much into details, it's a fee which is collected when you buy electronic products to finance the waste treatment activities. And this fee could be used to finance repair activities. And what is also extremely important is to have communication campaigns to encourage people to repair their products, and also education. Proposal which is very interesting in France is to also change the school programs to also make students work on some repair activities, so to teach them how to repair the stuff, so that then as consumers they will know how to identify repairable products.
Thank you, Matthew. So I think that from Susanna, her answer to that question, I think she was clear to say that she thinks that it's in the hands of businesses, and that they are they play the biggest role in this revolution. Would you say that it's that are policymakers the ones that are actually have the key role in this repair revolution?
I would say everyone, because if you only rely on producers, you'll end up with only voluntary agreements. It's very good that some of them want to use labels and certifications to prove that their products are repairable, but sometimes you also have the feeling that if it's the only tool needed, it's also a way for them to say, look, we do not need legislation, we just need to have certifications and voluntary agreements. It's not true. We also need to make sure that these rules are set for all the producers, and so we also need to convince governments, European institutions to make a legislation which forces producers to respect certain requirements in terms of design. And of course, we also need to be involved as consumers as much as possible, and try to also ourselves look for repairable products. So yeah, definitely, I would say producers and governments are the main the main target groups, but also consumers.
Okay, so following that last point about consumers, I would like to talk now a little bit about the European Right to Repair campaign. And I think, Chloe, you are the best person to tell us a little bit more about what this campaign is all about.
Yeah, so as Mathieu mentioned, there has been some eco-design requirements that were adopted recently. But the thing is, as he mentioned, they are not universal. So they only concern certain products, including fridges, washing machines, and others. And the access to spare parts and repair manuals is in most cases limited to professional repairs. So the reason for this campaign is to really ask for universal right to repair. And when we say universal, we mean it in two different senses. So both in terms of products. So we want more products, ideally all electronic products, of course, but we'd like to start by demanding some key iconic IT products, including smartphones, for instance, and laptops, which are not included in these requirements at the moment. And universal also in the sense that it should be accessible to everyone. So both professional repairers, but also community repair events, for instance, in terms of spare parts, in terms of access to repair manuals. And so the idea behind this campaign is really to gather, as I said in the beginning, pretty much everyone ideally interested in the cause of repair. So that includes both professional repairers, but also people who are frustrated because their products die, if I may say, or break after a while, and also people who care about environmental sustainability. So we have specific policy demands, and that include products that are made to be repaired. So that's the eco-design that Mathieu was referring to, but also access to spare parts and repair manuals for everyone, and information for consumers, so that consumers, when they go and they buy your product, they know if they will have the ability to repair it if it breaks, if they will be able to have that choice, or if the only choice that they will have will be to replace it, throw the product away and replace it. So we strongly invite anyone who's interested in joining the campaign to reach out to us. So the website, if I may say, is repair.eu. So if you're a professional repairer, or even if you're an individual or an environmental organization, don't hesitate to reach out, because we're currently building this coalition. We have members in several member states at the moment, and the idea is to build a truly citizen-based, grassroots European campaign.
Thanks, Chloe, and I'll make sure we share this website as well as in our comments box. So if anyone wants to reach out and be part of it, they can. Maybe I know that that you've launched this campaign not a very long time ago, but what are some of the main learning outcomes that you have so far that you could share with us?
So the organizations, some of them are in this call, but also organizations in the steering group were already gathering before even the launch of this official campaign, the Right to Repair campaign, last year. And they actually protested last year during the conversations about the eco-design requirements. And we think that we contributed to the requirements that were adopted, which, as Mathieu said, are not ideal. We ask for more, but it's still a very good first step. It's a good step in the right direction. So this was the main outcomes. And the learnings at the moment, I'd say, is that there's a demand for it. There's a demand for repair to become mainstream and become inclusive. There are people, including people working on the ground, that are asking for a campaign like this, and that are asking for a campaign that pushes policymakers for more ambitious legislation, and yeah, and even for on the consumer side, consumers want their products to be more repairable, and they're tired of having to throw them away after a while. So what we notice right now at the very early stages of this campaign is that there's a real demand for it, and the expectations are high. So we really hope policymakers will be listening in the very short term.
Thank you, Chloe. I would like to come back to Matthew and speak a little bit more, because he mentioned how important education is, in order to make people aware of this issue of the huge amount of waste that we are creating through not repairing our products. And I'm just thinking about the current people who know how to repair, and how can we support them? Is it with training, or how can we encourage other people to learn how to repair?
Well, if we want to encourage professional, you want to talk about encouraging professional repair activities, or more? Yeah. Okay. So I think the best way to encourage, let's say, independent repair activities and professional repair activities is to actually have a level playing field with the other repairers. So those we call authorized repairers, meaning repairers which have a contract with the producers of the products that they repair, and which this way they access to repair information, but they are also kind of like it's a limit also, because they also have to rely on the producers, and we want that all the spare parts, all the repair information is accessible to any consumer, but at the first step to any professional repairer. So professional repairers include both authorized and independent repairers. So yes, nothing more than what we already mentioned quite a lot. So access to repair information, access to cheaper spare parts, avoiding that parts are soldered. And then, yeah, indeed. So just to remind that our members are social enterprises, so that their main objective is to give jobs to people at risk of socioeconomic exclusion. And repair activities are, in fact, a very good opportunity to help our members propose jobs with trainings. So this is an activity which really help people gaining skills that then they can valorize on the job market. So this is why it is really important to encourage not only the repair by producers. So it's important to have a choice, and because this activity can be used by the social economy sector to then provide jobs for people at risk of socioeconomic exclusion.
Thank you, Matthew. And I would like to ask Susanna a question coming from Twitter, from Matt, who is asking, what is your favorite, your favorite product that you've given a repair certificate to?
Well, for the moment, we have certified 9 products, and I don't want to say which is our favorite, because that would not be fair. I think all of the repairable products are just great to be that way, because it means, in our sense, also that not only let's say the product you can repair it at home, but also that the producer did this effort and committed himself to make always the components available, to make all the information available. So we really appreciate the effort of the ones who do this. And yeah, there are some products that we like in general, because they are really repairable. Also, we have not certified them yet, but you would see them on the market. And I don't want to say brands, but you want to see, you can see like modular phones, or you can see laptops that they tell you that they will last so long because they did this and that kind of test. So I think it's nice that we have already some options to choose from, but still there is a long way to do. As Matthew and Chloe said, we need to work on the legislation, and also we as the consumers, we have to ask for the repairable products. So yeah, we would be glad to certify more to help you to choose the right ones.
Thank you. And of course, we are talking in this session about many organizations and many people who are involved, but could you tell us maybe, and this is a question for all of you, a bit more about other movements or other organizations that are helping in this revolution?
If I may, it's not necessary a specific organization as such, is just to acknowledge the thousands of community repair events that are taking place around the world weekly. So we're talking about thousands of volunteers who gather in the spare time to not only repair people's electronics or other items, but also exchange knowledge and teach and learn new skills. And so I think it's important to acknowledge that if thousands of individuals are able to dedicate time in the spare time to do this, we really need to scale it up. And now policymakers and manufacturers need to take their responsibility in that field. But yeah, so it's not specific organization, it's just the thousands of, probably hundreds of thousands actually, people around the world who dedicate time to repair on a weekly basis.
Perfect. Thank you, Chloe. Matthew, I see that you have unmuted yourself.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think that anyway, on the repair.eu website, you'll be able to find all the stakeholders which will be involved in the Right to Repair campaign. So there are a lot of other different organizations. I think about the European Environmental Bureau, iFixit, and all the members of the Restart project. Of course, and I think even also EU institutions can be considered as good partners, because the European Parliament, for example, had own initiative on the planned obsolescence, which is quite ambitious, which gives advices to the Commission in terms of what policies will help develop the repair and reuse sector, and then also the Commission itself, because they are currently conducting research on some tools which could help the repair sector thrive. For example, the repair scoring system, which is currently investigated. So it passed the first step in terms of assessing what is already existing to rank or to score products according to their repairability. And very soon they will have a public consultation and maybe also some tests to check if the repair scoring can actually influence the purchase decision. So yeah, these are our few partners that we can think of.
Thank you, Matthew. Susana, Blanca, would you like to add anything to this question?
Yeah, well, just apart from the organizations and the projects that Matthew and Chloe mentioned, yeah, I just wanted to raise a bit of awareness about the change of mind. I mean, when we have to buy anything or whatever, just to think twice if we need it, or just to think who is going to maintain this afterwards. I mean, it's a kind of a bit more sensitive to the pass of the time and to the resources, which is just to take care of the things around us, which is another side of ecology. I mean, ecology doesn't only mean just the nature outside, but the resources and the things that support our life. So just to try to incorporate a bit more this way of seeing and this temporary vision of the materials and the things.
Thanks, Blanca. Susana, anything else to add? Or
I would just like to add the local level a little bit. I think it has been said in general. Chloe mentioned that there are really thousands of repairers, that the Restart project has also inspired many people, also the repair cafes and different organizations, and even some are so local that they even don't have any name, they don't belong to any specific organization, but still they organize the repair parties. So I think it's very important if anyone who is listening to us wants to be part of the community. So follow the let's say the Right to Repair campaign, but also look for the local organizations if there is some around you, so you can also go there and repair your products, because it really makes happy. I tried it recently for the first time. I was also not believing that I could do that, but but it was successful, and it's very nice feeling. So
thank you, Susanna. And I think we have time for one more question from the audience. And this is Heather on the website, who is asking Matthew, who has touched actually a little bit about he has mentioned the financial tools that could support repairability, but she's asking whether this would take the form of labor and natural capital tax shifts, or whether it could take the form of repair subsidies.
Good question. Try to answer it the best I can. We tend to advocate for as much financial tools as possible to help reuse and repair. This can take several forms. It depends on countries, but some countries like Sweden, for example, or propose to have reduced VAT on repair activities. That's, for example, in Graz, and I think that now it's also developed to it's now at the Austrian level. You have a voucher which allows you to have a discount on repair activities when you need them. And then as I mentioned before, we should use because you have mandatory EPR schemes for electronics in the EU. So every member state has to make sure that when a producer put products on the market, an electronic product on the market, they have to pay a fee, or the consumer has to pay a fee. That will then be collected by a producer responsibility organization. The thing that these producer responsibility organizations, most of the time, they are managed by retailers and producers themselves. So it's important to have rules which make sure that these producer responsibility organizations have to spend a part of this fee towards prevention and reuse activities, because otherwise they mainly finance recycling activities, because then it's not really a threat to their own model. So it's important that legislation makes sure that that this extended producer responsibility fee is used according to the waste hierarchy, like respecting the waste hierarchy.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. And of course, you can continue as well the conversation with that person in the comments box. So I would like to say thank you to the audience online for watching this session, and I hope you found it as interesting as I have. I would like to also thank Chloe, Matthew, Susanna, and Blanca for taking the time out to tell us about this repair revolution and what needs to change in order to make the most out of this innermost loop of the circular economy. As a reminder, you can learn more about their organizations and what they are doing at their websites, which have been shared in the comments box. And if you still have questions or thoughts that you would like to share with them, please also use that comments box. Of course, there are a lot of sessions still coming up at the Ellen MacArthur Foundation's DIF. It is said that for every design problem we face, nature has already solved it. And right after this session at 5 o'clock, we will be exploring biomimicry in our studio, which is known as the study and application of nature solutions. Moreover, at 6 o'clock, we have the last session of the day in which we will move to the US to discuss what would a circular fashion economy look like in Los Angeles. So thanks again to our speakers, and remember to catch up on everything we have going on at thinkdiff.co.